Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video here today for round 2 of the Motorsport Ireland F4 series. Apologies, it's been a while since the last video, been pretty busy and haven't really had time to record the commentary for this one, but hopefully that I can try and get into a bit of a routine from here on out. But for today we are here at Snetterton in Norfolk in England, racing around the 300 circuit. First opened in 1951, it's a 4.79 kilometre or 2.98 mile long track, consisting of 13 turns, 8 which go to the right and 5 which go to the left. Key areas around this track are turn 8 at Williams. It's important to get a good exit as it leads onto the back straight. Then at the end of that straight, turn 10 at Nelson. Tricky right-hander braking and turning, so it's easy to make a mistake there. As is the final turn, turn 13 of Murray's, where once again you're trying to brake and turn and try and get a good exit onto the main pit straight. But before we get going here today, going to have a quick look at the standings after round 1. You can see we sit in 4th place, 24 points. It's very tight around the middle of the top 10 and then a bit of a gap to the top 3, but hopefully today we can get a few good results and try and gain a few more points. But as we head to start our first qualifying lap here, down the pit straight into turn 1, a little bit of a break and then turning in just at the 1 marker. Important to hit the apex there and get on the tower nice and early through turn 1. For turn 2, the hairpin braking between the 2 and the 1 marker board, trying to get good rotation and get a good exit on this little straight that leads us down into turn 3. Very quick left-hander, you want to turn in and then get back on the tower as early as you can. I ran a bit wide there and then didn't run wide enough on the exit, so definitely time to be made up there, didn't carry enough speed. Into turn 4 then, another hairpin, left-hander this time. Tricky braking and you tricky exit as well, you don't want to run out onto the grass. As we head up to the very quick left-hander of Hamilton, flat out, running out as much as you can on the exit but not to get an invalidation, and then braking for the double right-hander of 6 and 7. Have a bit of a moment there, so not the best run through those section of turn, as now through turn 8 of Williams that we know in the key areas. Didn't get a great exit onto the back straight as we really needed to do. And now we run down towards the end of the lap, towards the final sector, and the trickiest part of the track for me, braking just before the 1 board for this left-hander, braking and turn, trying to screw off the speed before this right-hander. Don't want to hit that curve there as it will really upset the car and probably spin you out. Flat out through the right-hander of turn 11 and now into the final 2 turns, this very long right-hander of turn 12 and then into the final turn. Trying to brake and turn here for the final turn, avoiding the curve on the apex and trying to get a good exit as we run now down towards the finish line. Staying to the middle of the track because there's a bump on the inside that will slow you down, and as we come across the line we've set a 1:48.5 which puts us in P5. On our second qualifying lap here, you can see we're about a 10 to 10.5 up, going into the turn 4 hairpin, and we're about the same on the exit. As we head up towards Hamilton now, going to check it flat out as you can do. When we run a bit wide on the exit, we invalidate our lap, then into the next turn, we carry a bit too much speed, go off the track there and lose even more time, and that is our qualifying over. So in the end, we finish up in P7, about a second off pole position of James Egan, as it's very close up at the front, but we definitely could have made up 1 or 2 positions. But for race 1, we're going to be starting from P7.
The track temp is
so as we're about to get going here for race 1 in
Celsius.
Snetterton, starting from P7 on the grid, we have the lights on, and as the lights go out, we get a pretty decent initial start. We get a better start than the green car of Komodo starting ahead of us. But behind us, Fabrizio in the orange and white car in our mirror there, getting a better start than us, and into turn 1, we're side by side, almost 3 wide, as we head now down towards the hairpin of turn 2. We're ahead of the cars behind us, but we brake a bit earlier than Fabrizio, as we're side by side through turn 2. And we're running down towards turn 3 now, still side by side, but we have the inside line, so hopefully we can try and hold this position. And on the exit, we're still side by side, we get a bit more momentum through that long left-hander. And now into the right-hand hairpin, we have the inside line here. It's up ahead, David Ward, he outbrakes himself,
Still
locks
there.
up and goes straight on. So he's made up a position there.
Still there.
As we're still side by side heading up to Hamilton,
Hold
the
your
quick
line.
left-hander, I didn't
Right
really
side's
want to be
clear.
going too wide through there, and luckily Fabrizio backs out of that one. But yeah, very eventful opening half a lap there, as you might have saw in the mirror, maybe you missed it, that the motor had a bit of a dive on Fabrizio, so have a little bit of a gap behind us now, but still only half a second. As we skip ahead now to the end of lap 1, beginning of lap 2. Into turn 1, we turn in and we don't have a great run through there. We were a bit wide on the initial turn in, and then we scrub off a bit too much speed, don't carry the speed we wanted to. And then into turn 2, brake a bit too late, go a bit deep, and then Campo is down or inside. Side by side once again through turn 2, but luckily on this occasion we managed to get ahead before turn 3, take the line that we wanted through there, and managed to hold position in P5. So starting in 7th, made up 2 positions on that opening lap, which isn't too bad, I suppose, as we're having a bit of pressure applied to us from behind. And honestly, already after a lap and a half in this race, I kind of realised that there was a lot of cars that were faster than me, including the 2 that are directly behind me. So my thought process at the time was just keep the car clean, don't fight too hard in a battle that I know that over a 20-minute race I am probably going to lose out on, as the 2 cars behind me are a lot faster. You see in the relative on the bottom right, they're both within a second, and then there's a pretty sizable gap to the car behind them, so I'll probably end up stopping into P7 in this race is what I was thinking. And honestly, with how I was feeling coming into this one, wasn't feeling too confident with the track and how I was driving. So if I could finish in P7 and then possibly pick up a few loose ends of drivers ahead having a few issues or incidents, then I would probably take that and be pretty happy with a P7. As we come to finish lap 2 then, there are a few cars in the pits, so there must have been some kind of incident behind us that we didn't see, but luckily we weren't any part of. As through turn 1, we're now starting to get the line for that right, getting a much better run that time than we did on the last lap. And then into turn 2, I broke a bit early there. I didn't want to run wide again like I did on the previous lap. And through this race, I'll hopefully get a bit more confidence. As through turn 3, we go way too wide there. We end up running onto the grass. You can run onto the curb, but you don't have to be out onto the grass. Now Campo is down our inside into the hairpin of turn 4.
Clear left.
When I saw he was side by side with me, I decided that I was going to brake a bit early and let him go through. I knew he was faster, so kind of just hoping that I could maybe stick with him. Maybe he could try and drag me along with the slipstream, as the straights on this track are still very long straights. Then hopefully I can try and hold on in the turns and stay somewhat close. So move down from 5th into 6th in this race on lap 3. And now down the back straight, we're in the slipstream. As I just mentioned, I want to be. The slipstream can be very powerful in these cars depending on the setup. As we head through turn 9 and through 10, you can see there on the left hand side, Jeff Richardson, the 2nd place in this championship, must have had a bit of an incident or an issue coming back onto the track, and I was kind of worried there what way he was going to come back onto the track. So through turn 11, take a really bad line through there, but luckily haven't lost too much time or gained too much time. As you can see there, that Silver Joffert, probably said that name wrong, he went off the track in the final turn, so it must have been him and Jeff that had a bit of a coming together, and Jeff went off the track. You can see there in the relative, he's kept going. Silver must have had some kind of damage and he ran off the track. As now we're running off the track through turn 1. Had a really bad line there, as now Fabrizio manages to get his way past into the hairpin of turn 2. As we had moved up into P4 after those incidents, now we move back down into P5. Moving ahead to Lair on lap 4 then, into the final sector once again. You can see in our mirror that Jeff is a lot more confident through there, carried a lot more speed, and he's right up behind us now. I was hoping that he'd have the racing, just have the racecraft to not try and make a move in this long right-hander, which isn't really an overtaking place, that he would wait and try and have a better run down the pitch straight. through the final turn, get race control warnings about contact, so Jeff must have made a bit of a tap on our rear end there through the final turn. I didn't feel it at the time. It didn't put me off or cause any real problems for me, but through turn 1, once again, we don't get the ideal line, and then into the hairpin of turn 2. Jeff sends it down the inside. I try and fight a little bit around the outside, but really I wasn't going to fight it too much. Now, side by side, into turn 3, I lift off, let him have the position, because he was at the front. I know he's faster than me, and yeah, I just want to keep the car clean for this race. As now onto the end of lap 5, through the final turn. Carry a bit too much speed there, lose the back end, have a bit of a half spin. Luckily, didn't lose too much time on that one. David Ward manages to get past us there as we're recovering, getting back up to speed, and we move down into P7. Skipping ahead then to the middle of lap 8, forward about a lap and a half. We managed to stay with David, who won race 2 in the round 1 and stayed in the championship heading into this race. And we both seem to be having a few more issues in this race. As through turn 10 here, we're going to clip the curb on the inside too much, and that is really a death curb. If you hit it any way at all, it's going to send the car out off the track like it did to us there. Luckily, didn't cause any wheel damage, so we're able to keep going, but we did lose a lot of time to David, who I really felt like we could probably battle for P6 in this race. As we skip on to the final lap now, heading down the back straight. We've managed to close in a bit of time to David, down to about 2 seconds, as now the lap car of Seth Martin is between the two of us. Bit of a tricky race this one. Started 7th, finished 7th, so can't complain too much, especially earlier when I said that I would probably take the P7, but as the race went on then, I feel like if I didn't make that mistake at turn 10 and went off the track, I probably could have fought David for P6, but come out of the final turn then to come up and to cross the line to finish race 1 here in P7.
7th position.
Alright,
okay,
ticket flag.
So yeah, P7 about 18 seconds off the lead of James Egan, who had a pretty comfortable win in this one. Really not much more to say about this race. Not too sure if I should be disappointed or satisfied with 7th, but that does mean that for race 2 we're going to be starting from P4. So getting ready to go here for race 2 from P4, second row of the grid. The red lights are on, and as they go out, we get a pretty similar start to the cars ahead of us, but behind us David Ward gets a much better start as we run now towards turn 1. We're 3 wide on the outside into turn 1. We make contact with Will Duncan, and then Jeff Richardson gets involved in that incident. We drop all the way down to the back of the pack, so front, but luckily, as you see there, no damage to the car and we can keep going. But as we look at a replay here now, as we turn in, I think I leave enough space, and as we go on board here with Will, just look at his steering wheel, just mid-corner there, he goes from turning right into the corner, straighten his wheel, and he ends up running a bit wide then. I think that's where he make contact, and then behind the two of us, Jeff Richardson has a bit of his own issue and then ends up getting involved as well. But moving ahead then onto lap 2, onto the back straight, you can see ahead that is rudely going wide on the exit of turn 8, kind of like he did at one of the races in the last round. So 2 rounds in a row where Hugo has gone off the track going onto the back straight while he's in front of us. But through turn 10 now, you can see that Hugo and Russell McPherson, who are ahead of us, both of them go off there on the exit. Hugo managed to get past Russell, and now he is the next car for us to try and get a move on as we're down in P10 after that lap 1 incident, and looking out to try and move up into P9 as on the exit of the final corner onto the pitch straight. Russell, he goes a bit wide, gets a bad exit, and we get a better run onto the pitch straight, and we managed to get that move done before we get into turn 1. We're going to stay on board here as into turn 1, don't get a great run there, and Russell gets very close to us, And now into turn 2, we're taking it nice and easy, but up ahead Hugo is having a bit of a spin. We try and avoid it, which we do, but then Russell behind us ends up running into the back of us, spinning us around, and in 3 laps we've had 2 incidents in this race, so really not going well for us. As we have a look at the replay here, this is Russell's POV, and you can see there he hips the curb, kind of bounces him into me there, and if we look at his onboard, yeah, I feel like there was definitely a lot that could have been done there to avoid that collision, and I don't think there was too much more I could do. As skipping ahead to later on that lap, Hugo has another spin out of turn 10 and we managed to move ahead up into P9 now, I think it is, but if you look in the relative there, you can see David Ward, who was in 7th, he is in the pit, so he must have had an incident. We move up another place, and must have been a few more cars involved in that, because now we're up into P7. Skip ahead then onto further along in that lap, through turn 6 and 7, have another bit of a spin there, carrying too much speed through that turn that the tyres weren't able to handle. And then skipping ahead a bit further onto lap 4 still, and the exit of turn 10 into turn 11, Russell must have ran a bit wide, he's off the track, and we managed to move past up into P6. Skipping ahead then a lot further into this race onto lap 10, I was really pushing here, just trying to get more confident with the car and try and get a bit more comfortable with the track, but we're pushing a bit too hard there, have a pretty big moment by ourselves, but luckily we had pulled a big enough gap to Russell behind that it's not going to cost us any positions. And then skipping on to lap 11, the end of lap 11, the end of the second to last lap, we once again have an incident in turn 10, hitting that curb and going for another bit of a half spin. And once again, luckily we have still a big enough gap to Russell behind that we're not going to lose a position there. But skipping ahead then to going into the final sector of the final lap, kind of took it easy after those few incidents in the last lap and a half, so just going to bring it home now for P6. Starting P4, would have hoped for a little bit more in this race, but after the incident in turn 1 and then the incident later on with Russell, I suppose I can't really complain. There was always a recovery drive after lap 1, so coming home in P6, getting a few decent points.
That's 2 minutes left.
Yeah, now we just look forward for round 3, where hopefully we can have a bit of a better few races. So P6 it was in the end, about 48 seconds from the lead, and after our incidents in the start of the race and then our few spins towards the end, I suppose it's not really too bad. It could have been a lot worse, and it's another 8 points to add to our tally for the season. And since it took so long to get this video out, actually have the standings after round 2 here, we still find ourselves in 4th place, not too far behind 3rd, but then in behind it's very close, with 4 of us within 10 points of each other for the top 4 places. But that's all for this race. Until the next one, which will be round 3 around Leatherden. Thanks for watching. See you then.